TV, Los Angeles, California 9.
I get the makeup on, and then I rub my hands up over here. Where you kiss me.
Taking you're not a fan.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in. I'm sitting here with Traci Lords. I want to ask you one question.
Okay.
Because there's lots to talk about, and I'm fascinated by the fact that you took your name from Jack Lords. Is that true? I mean, actors change their names all the time. I'm Whoopi Goldberg. I took mine from one of those little gas cushions. You sit down.
Really?
So we have our reasons for doing. But Jack Lord with the thing and the Hawaii fight.
Why?
Why?
Because I was like 9 years old when that series was on, and I love the way he said, "Book 'em, Dano." He was the first guy that ever made me hot.
Ooh, Jack Lord. Well,
I
honey,
was only 9. I mean,
well, that must make him feel good now, because what is he
one of
doing
my
now?
friends, John Waters, sent me a clipping from like the Inquirer. You know how it is when it's horrible when you've aged or you've gotten older as a star, and someone catches a picture of you.
The one of him.
There was one of him walking down the street with the beekeeper hat and the cane and the really white knobby knees. I was so devastated when I saw that. I thought, oh, he looks so sad.
Well, I think if he had gone from this to this, it might be a little tough on him.
I somehow thought that the hair would stay the same color.
Honey, many people have discovered that these changes come along. And, gravity comes. I'm finding gravity's got me. I've dropped and spread. But I don't think I'm going to be in the Inquirer hobbling along. And I don't think anybody's going to name themselves after me.
You don't think?
No.
You never know.
That's true. There could be some 9-year-old out there waiting to call themselves.
He'll sit down on a sofa and say, "Whoo, Whoopi."
Whoopi Smith. Well, Whoopi Smith, if you're watching, you come back and see us, and we'll be back with Traci Lords. Amazing. Traci, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about the old Traci Lords as well, and then we'll get into the new Traci Lords. Why do you think there are so many kids out on the streets now? Because you were out there at a young age.
Yeah, 15.
At 15?
15, yeah. See, I think that what a lot of people forget about me is that when I was involved in nude modeling and X-rated films, I was 15. I mean, that was all before I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I just came back from New York this morning, and I was lecturing. I work with Greater Talent, and I was lecturing at the University of Rochester.
Right.
And while I was there, they wanted me to hold a press conference, and I'm always very squeamish about doing that because I think it's private.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, there's certain things that you don't want to talk about, you just want to do.
Right.
But I agreed to do it because the shelter needed support. They needed donations and so forth, so I did it, and it amazed me on the way from the airport in the van. The gentleman that was my host said, well, there were several shelters, but some of them felt that they didn't like what you were about and what you were talking about. And I thought, God, what a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah.
Here they are saying that they want to save these young girls from the streets, and they're criticizing me for something I did before I was 18, when I was 15 years old.
Well, that's the country we're living in, huh?
Well, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that people would want to see you change your life and make things good for yourself. And they should say, congratulations, she's doing good.
Right.
But instead, it's so much easier to criticize someone, isn't it?
It is. And they lay in wait for it. But see, I think it's important for you to continue to tell people how maybe we can help these kids. Because if you are out there at 15, if you're doing X-rated films at 15, there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem.
There's a big problem.
Exactly.
What got you there? What happened?
So many things got me there. I mean, it's not like a one-line answer with me, but I definitely wasn't normal. I mean, I was very rebellious. I was very hurt in a lot of ways. I mean, I grew up, my father was an alcoholic. I had all the classic, symptoms of a not so stable home. You know, it didn't just happen like one day I woke up and I said, okay, I'm going to be a porn star today. It's a good thing to do. It wasn't like that. You know, drugs happened. For me, it was never about sex. It was always about drugs, and the sex was a result of the situation.
And did none of the adults know what was happening?
People ask me that question all the time, and I really can't answer it because I don't know, because I wasn't them. But I know that I'm 24 now and I look very young. And at 15, I look like a baby.
I would, a
real baby. I did. So I don't know. Maybe it was that they just didn't question it. And I think that that's a big problem in America today. People don't question it enough. It's easier to slam the door and say, well, this is not my kid and somebody else's problem. And go away. I don't want to deal with it. And it's easier for people to say, go away, Traci Lords, you're too scary. We're afraid of you. We're afraid of what you might say.
The thing that I want people to understand about you is that there is a way out. That it doesn't have to stay there, and that there are things, if you see the problem, if you see that there are teenagers out there who could use a helping hand, that you may be the pivotal person to help guide them out.
Because a lot of times when I go in, and that's the reason I lecture. I mean, a lot of times I don't have time. But it's like, if I can do it a couple times a year and go in and speak, it makes me feel so good. It's a personal thing. Because no one's really doing it. There aren't really any celebrities that are closely connected with that. And the bottom line is that when a celebrity goes to a child shelter, the press goes.
Yes, they do.
And that's just the reality of the way it is. So the visibility, I think, is really important.
It is. It actually is. And you are able to say to people and talk about that time that you went through.
Because I've been there.
You
know, they look at a counselor sometimes and they go, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. You went to college and you had your middle class family, and how do you know what I'm feeling? I can look at them and say, honey, I was lower than this. Believe me, I've been there.
So now, did you run away from home and you got to these people and they said, here's a way to make money? Or is any of it sort of really clear? Because I know the drugs kind of helps it blur.
Yeah, they do. They really do. It was, I think the best way to describe it is like a 3-year hangover. Do you know what I mean? You're there, and you're there, but you're not really like crystal clear aware of things. And in some ways, that's really good, I think. I don't want to be crystal clear, have my memory really clear on all of that. But I remember enough that when I get up and speak, there are things that I think that are really important, and I push them. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is, you hear this all your life. When you're young, you're supposed to make your mistakes. Do whatever you want. By the time you're 18, it'll be erased. Something like that. And it's so untrue. We have to teach our kids to be more responsible. Because sometimes the choices that we make today, they last your whole life. And I found that out the hard way. And I always say that to them. And it's so funny because when I first walk in, it's like they expect me to like pop out of a birthday cake or something. You know, the jocks show up because they hear Traci Lords and they think blonde, married with children, crybaby. You know, they think this. And then within about the first 5 minutes, you could hear a pin drop.
Well, then you become a person.
Exactly.
You know, you're not just this 15-year-old image on somebody's screen. So I'd take us back to my first question. Why do you think there's so many kids? Why is this such an epidemic?
I think awareness is really the problem.
On the kids' part or adults'
On the parents. Part? I mean, I know that parents do the best that they can. Most of them want their kids to, you know, grow up and have, you know, a good education and see them do well. But the problem is that in society today, we are struggling so much. So many parents are struggling to make a living for their kids, and the problem is time. usually they're not around enough. And when you're not around, how can you see what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, with me, I know that that was my problem. My mom was going to school, my father split, he wasn't paying child support, so she was going to school for 8 hours, working for 10. She was never there. It was 18 hours that she wasn't there.
Yeah.
A kid can have a lot of freedom in 18 hours. And freedom leads to time on your hands, which leads to drugs. Which in my case it did anyway.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be right back with the fabulous Traci Lords.
At a business class fare. That's the difference.
Yeah, right.
We're back with Traci Lords. We talked a little bit earlier about trust and the trust that you have to learn how to have. Was it a hard thing for you to begin to do?
Yeah.
Once you came out?
I think it was always a problem with me. I never really trusted people. I mean, after everything that happened, how could I?
Yeah.
You know, it's that insecurity of the unknown that's really hard. But it took me, I mean, just the last couple of years, really, that I can really call people easier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always give people a chance, but I can usually look at them and know right away if they're telling me the truth, if they're for real or they're Hollywood.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's a let's do lunch person or if it's just somebody that's there.
Yeah. You also are involved with Children of the Night, which is an incredible organization that Lois Lee, Dr. Lois.
Yes,
Dr. Lois Lee. How did you hook up with her?
It was a really casual thing. I ran into her in a restaurant about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. And at first I was a little leery because I was still really healing and getting my head together. It takes a while.
Yeah.
You know?
A lifetime.
Yeah. By the time you get it together, you're dead.
Yeah.
And
then you stay dead for like ever. It's amazing.
But anyway, I ran into her in a restaurant and she was very persistent. She kept calling me. There was some sort of connection. I liked talking to her. I began to trust her.
Right.
And then we did a series of public service announcements together. My husband, Brooke, actually directed them.
Oh, great.
And he was so funny. He was like, I want you to wear this green dress. It'll make you look beautiful, and sit right there. He was so cute. And so we did these public service announcements. Pepperdine University helped a lot with that.
Great.
And they started airing and she got such a response from it. The kids and the calls really increased and it helped. And it took an afternoon.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, is that all I have to do? And it gets this much reaction, it helps this many people?
Yeah.
What's the big deal? It made me feel really good.
Hi, I'm Traci Lords. When I first came to Hollywood, I had a lot to learn, but nobody could tell me that because I thought I knew it all. So I ended up alone on the streets. But you don't have to. Children of the Night helps sexually exploited kids. It puts them into drug programs, helps them get IDs and jobs. So call them right now.
Yes, we have to explain because I don't know that my audience is aware of what Lois is doing.
Yeah, well, she's had like different little shelters for kids that are mainly under 18 that have come from like sexually abused backgrounds, runaways. She rescues them from pimps. She places them, they can come and stay at the house and they don't get no questions asked. They don't get turned over to the police. They just have to see a counselor and they have to work on themselves. That's what her house is all about. Now they just got the Van Nuys post office, which I think is great, and it has like 200 beds in it. And it's so funny because when I went about 3 months ago when they had the opening, I thought, I would have run away just to stay here. It's so nice. It's so great, though, for her. She wanted to do it for so long. And getting the funding and the grants, they make it nearly impossible.
Well,
which is another problem.
Yeah.
They make it so difficult. It amazes me that education and kids and all the things that are really important in this country are so far down on the list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the things that you shouldn't really be thinking about, like other people's business, are primary.
Bestsellers.
Yes, bestsellers.
Absolutely. People love dirt.
Yeah, they do. Well, baby, we're not going to dish no more dirt. We're going to talk about Brooke, who I know, Mr. Yeaton, who's very cool. Where'd you meet? How did you meet him?
Well, this is so funny because you know Pat Moran.
Right.
She cast John Waters' movies.
Right.
She cast me in Cry Baby.
Right.
And I married her son. Is that strange?
No, I think that's fate.
And you know, I think it's fate too. But his godfather was divine, you know.
Yes.
And one of his closest friends, and my closest friends, was Frankie Piazza.
Right.
That died of AIDS.
Yeah. Who used to work with me.
I know, that you loved. And so it's funny, you know, over the years, I've heard a lot about you. But I mean, everybody loves you.
If they only
And you
knew.
know something, that's really rare when it comes to somebody as famous as you are, that people genuinely love you. I hope I never lose that. I hope I gain that someday. Hell.
Yes, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Brooke is great, and he's a prop master. He worked on House Party 2.
Right.
And Clara's Heart.
Right.
And he spoke very highly of you.
We had a good time on both.
Yeah.
That's cool. He's a good guy.
He
He's
is.
A good
He's
man.
really cute.
Yes, he is very fine.
Which helps.
He's a fly man. You know, and when you go out now to auditions, because Crybaby is wonderful. If you haven't seen it, you should go get the tape because it's great. And we're going to show folks a clip.
Oh,
of
okay.
it. So I'll shut up for a second and you watch the clip.
He goes by the name of Nosy Joe. Don't care if they're married, he takes his pick. Long as they're women, he's ready to stick his big nose in their business. His big nose in their business. That's Nosy
You going my way?
Oh, it's you. You ever hear of something called a theme park?
Yeah, there's a big opening over there today.
Well, that's where I'm going, stallion.
Well, hop on in.
I'm telling you, women, this ain't no jive. If you get too close, this...
When you're out auditioning for people, is the credibility, are you gaining more credibility?
I'm just starting to, really. I mean, it's really been hard.
Yeah.
I mean, people always hear about the parts you got.
Right.
They don't hear about the ones you didn't get.
Right.
For every one that I got, I lost 100.
Right.
Not because of talent. I mean, every once in a while you screw up at an audition or whatever.
Right.
But it's not really that. I mean, because I studied, I trained, I went to Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, I studied with Nina Foch, I studied. I really worked hard at that because I felt like I had to be 10 times better than anyone else to win a role.
Right.
And I was right. I mean, having the past I have is hard enough.
Right.
And being a woman in Hollywood is hard too.
Yeah.
Add it all together and sometimes it's like a mountain, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You just have to strap on your hiking boots and up you go.
Is it still, will it get easier, do you
I don't
think,
know.
for them?
I don't know.
You know, when you look at it.
When I first started doing it, you know, 1987, when I did Not of This Earth, I think I was doing it more to prove a point that I could do it. I hated the fact that I was 18 years old and everyone was telling me that my life was over. I could never be an actress.
Right.
I don't even think I knew that I wanted to be an actress then.
Right.
I just knew that I think I'm going to annoy you because you say I can't. It was the rebel in me that really motivated me.
Right.
You know, but since then, you know, I already feel like I've proved the point I was set out to prove. The rest of it, it's just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It's what I love to do. You know, I love to act. I love to move people. I love to make people think. That's why I like the lecture and I like the kids and I like the whole thing. You know, but I've got 2 new movies coming out next year and I'm really excited about them. I've got Skinner coming out from Canon Films in February with Yvonne Naj directing and Ricky Lake is in it.
The fabulous Miss
Yes,
Lake.
she's fabulous, and Ted Raimi, and it's one of my favorites. It's the most dramatic role I've ever played.
Oh, great.
And she was this woman, it's sort of a little like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Right.
It's really intense. When I first read it, I thought, wow, maybe this is too extreme.
Right.
But it was so exciting to play someone who, she's like the victim of all victims in a way.
Right.
But she's nothing like me. I mean, she was a victim of the serial killer, and so the left side of her face is all mutilated in her body.
Wow.
And wearing that Veronica Lake hairdo to cover it all, and then revealing it, and being bald, and having this addiction to morphine. It was so intense doing that. I thought, wow. They can't say I played the pretty girl in this one.
No, they can't.
No, they can't.
Go ahead, Miss Things. We'll be right back. That's right.
What?
It's great.
Yeah, it was...
I liked what you said, and if you wouldn't mind, we were just, as we were going out, you're saying that the part that you just took was a real freeing experience because you've been very careful about the work you're taking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I found that because of the hair that covers half the face that hides who she really is,
Right.
it gave me this really weird freedom. It was like all of a sudden, I don't know, being in your bedroom in your underwear and dancing around and not worrying about anyone watching.
It's the best.
It was so interesting.
I'm so glad that you came to talk, and I'm glad you're out there And I'm glad that Lois has a champion in you.
Thank you.
You know.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, darling.
I enjoyed it.
You will see tomorrow. Go on. Go on, roll over. She's waiting. Or he's waiting. Somebody's. Go on.